Hello everyone, my name is Kana Taku. Today I want to do the level 6 of this book I published with my colleagues in Japan about how to write more scholarly papers in English as a person whose English is not our first language. So let's get started. Level 6 is to choose the articles that are most likely to be relevant to the paper that we are going to write about. So far, levels 1 to 5 kind of like helped us to be mentally prepared, set the schedule, and we are going to actually allocate some time in our everyday lives so that we can spend a certain time, say like 15 minutes, 30 minutes every day to write papers in English. So we should be ready by now. But when I sit down in front of the computers, doing something or write something in English is intimidating. It's hard. So what I'm usually going to do is do a little bit of warm up, and then, but that involves literature review. So it actually works out. So I want to share my screen, and then we are going to do it together. So once I share my screen, so it'll be like this. Then, okay. So first, whenever I do literature search, I usually just use university's library website and then find PsycInfo. Okay, so I want to do that. Use this just to begin with. And then I use, because if we already know the topic that we are going to focus on, then we can just easily put some keywords here. For me, I haven't really decided yet, but I know I want to find something about shift, like shift values or attitudes, because I'm interested in how people, human beings change, experience some kind of transformative changes with or without experiencing life crisis. So I just put shift values, and then so those are my keywords. And then because I'm now recording the YouTube video, I wanted to use open access journal just for today. So I wanted to say like Frontiers in Psychology. That's just one of the journal that supports open access. So I want to use that one as a publication title and then click search. What would you find? Oh, 35. Okay. And then I wanted to do a little bit of newer papers. So maybe 2016, 6 years ago, I used that. Okay, now 23. I would use maybe values as the title to make it even more selective. So let's do that. How many papers are there? Oh, I'm going to find only 2 of them. The first one is the value of creativity for enhancing the translation ecologies, insights, and discoveries, adapting the research development, innovative value chain psychology, educational psychology area. I think I want to do the first one. It seems interesting to me, the value of creativity. I like that. So once I decided, then get the full text for now, and then decide if I actually want to keep this article in my computer or not, because I need to judge. I can't use all of the articles that I find for my own paper. So I just have to kind of choose, see if I'm interested. But first I find the papers, and then, so like I said, I want to use this one as my warm up. I'm going to open my Word document and then use that one. Okay, and then start actually typing. So to make it a little bit this way. Oops, excuse me. Accidentally clicked. There you go. So the title is The Value of Creativity for Enhancing Translational Ecologies, Insights, and Discoveries. Interesting. I chose this article based on the keywords, for example, the value as well as a shift. So, of course, the title seems already interesting to me. So I retyped the title. Usually, people read, for example, abstract. This particular paper may not have, it seems like it does not have any abstract here. Start with introduction and then case study. Interesting. So these are different types of like empirical articles. And then suddenly discussion, very interesting. Yeah, because most of the papers usually have like typical structures, say like abstract, introduction, and the method, results, and discussion. I'm still really interested in this paper, so I want to download it. But for today, I want to use different articles that actually have like the typical format. So I'll just keep this one and maybe read later. So instead of shift, what if I change it to change as a keyword? Oh, then I find more. Recycling alone, protesting together. I like that values as a basis for pro-environmental social change actions. I'm really interested in this paper. That was just one of the top one. I haven't really examined the second one, environmental value, emotional harassment of firm's value, including personal value, and then frequency of drinking depends on cultural values. This one is interesting too, actually. I'm gonna get the full text too. And then get the full text, open up, and then I wanted to see the structure, the introduction, and then, okay, does it have like typical data and the method, results, and then discussion and a conclusion section. Today, I want to use this one. So instead of the paper I originally found, I'm going to switch. And then as a warm-up, I want to use the typical format because I'm going to use the typical format for my own paper. So I want to be even more and more familiar with this style. So I want to use this one today. The link between personal values and frequency of drinking depends on cultural values. A cross-level interaction approach. So whenever I start my own papers, once again, just producing my thoughts or anything new in English is hard. So that's why I always start with this warm-up, just to get going, for my fingers to get used to typing English. So this is kind of like for me to just almost like rituals. So that's why I pick the paper or article and then start typing immediately. A lot of books talk about or encourage that we should start with abstract. Just read an abstract and then see if we are interested or if we find out that this particular paper is relevant to what we are studying. But for me, I'm a little bit different. I don't start with abstract and then I actually skip introduction and methods or results too. And I always start with discussion because typically, the first paragraph of the discussion section summarizes what the authors found for their papers. And then immediately after that, they will start talking about how their findings are consistent with the previous studies or not consistent, or what kind of future directions they want to identify. They already identified those kind of things. Those are very interesting to me. So that's why I always start with the discussion. For this particular paper, it says discussion and conclusion. That's fantastic. So I'm just going to start typing the current study. Examine how values relate to the frequency of drinking and how this values drinking behavior link may be moderated by culture across 21 European countries. Oh, I did not know that. The data involves like the data from 21 European countries. This is a big size study. Examine how values related to frequency of drinking. So the values and then drinking behaviors. So that's why they're saying values drinking behavior link. Okay, so that's what they're interested in. I am interested in too, how values affect our actions, our attitudes. So that's interesting. But it will be moderated by culture. I'm interested by culture. Do they use cultural variables such as like individualistic, collectivistic, or what kind of measures do they use? While I'm reading, I kind of start thinking about come up with a lot of questions. So when I write the rest of the papers, I already have some kind of overall ideas where I need to focus on. Anyway, let me just keep going. We found, what did they find? We found some support. Okay, not entire support, some support for their hypothesis. That's interesting. As expected, so that part should be something that their hypothesis was supported. And then other parts, their hypothesis probably were not supported. So I'm curious, like where or why. So as expected, that's good. The individual level value dimension, openness to change. So that's how they change, how they measure the values, openness to change. That must be the one type of so that's different. Openness to change, that's a type of values versus conservation. Conservation, okay, was positively related to the frequency of drinking. I'm just wondering if people have the individual level, if people have their values that the openness to change more willing to, or they're having the values, so which is the maybe the priorities or importance of having the attitude openness to change. If they have that kind of values, then they're more likely to drink because it says positively related to the frequency of drinking. I'm still not sure. I got to read the results section, but that's their main results. And this is consistent with previous research. So there should be already a line of study that examined this relationship between values and drinking behaviors that I'm not familiar with, but that could be interesting. And we do have some data too. I may be able to use it. This is consistent with previous, where am I? This is consistent with the previous research showing that individuals who value pleasure and enjoyment also exhibit more frequent. I see. So it could be a positive side because they're more open, they more find like pleasure or enjoyment as something important in their lives, so they want to drink more. It's a bad thing. Whereas those valuing conformity and security drink alcohol less frequency. I think that makes sense. Alcohol. Less frequency. I'm misspelling it. Okay, alcohol, less frequency. I think it makes sense. I agree. I understand. It's okay. Then now they also talk about country level. So while I'm typing, I just kind of try to understand what they found. Imagine instead of immediately jumping to, for example, like table 1 to completely understand it. Because for me to understand the paper, I need to kind of connect to my previous knowledge so that I can read better. So I'm now, after they talked about an individual level, now they talk about country level correlation. These kind of things helped me because I do also have some data for both individual level and a country level. So maybe when I write the papers, I can kind of use this idea. So individual level, something start with individual level. And then after that, I can talk about country level. Or maybe vice versa, country level correlation demonstrates a positive association between, is it consistent or it's different? Between frequent alcohol consumption, I keep misspelling, alcohol consumption and openness to change. That's consistent. That's exactly what they already talked about for the individual level. So that's consistent, but not just that. They also found self-transcendence. So that must be another dimension or type of value, self-transcendence versus self-enhancement. Self-enhancement, I thought the opposite of self-enhancement is self-effacement. So this must be new to me. I have to check self-enhancement. So I just kind of, just type it in, but clearly I'm really interested in this paper. So I want to keep it. When I want to keep it, I'm going to actually not this one. I'm doing this. So I'm going to actually download this one. So when I download it, I want to save it by using the author's name. So I'm going to go to back again, and then one more time, download, and then use the first author's last name, Rudnev, and Baku, had time, Baku, there, 2018, oops, 2018. Okay, I'll save it. Okay, I have saved it. So now it's in the desktop. And then once I decide, okay, I'll keep this one, then I usually enter this information in my EndNote. So EndNote is one of the computer software that I use to manage all the literature that I want to keep. So this would be 925. I'm numbering all of the papers. So this would be number 25. And then I know EndNote should be super helpful, probably for automatically record all of the articles. Like probably you can automatically download it and connect it. I'm not doing that way. I'm actually manually entering all of the information. So in this case, the author is Rudnev Nakusin, and then Valku there. Christine Melanie. Okay, and then the year was 2018. And then for the title, I already typed for my Word document, so I can at least copy and paste. The journal was Frontiers in Psychology. And then there's no volume, but I do have a DOI over here, so I use that one. We just use it a little bit this way. So I don't have issues, pages, or anything, but I do have a DOI here. So 103389. So that's why I feel like if you know how to use EndNote more effectively, then you probably don't need to manually type like I do. But I always do this like this. Sometimes I may make a mistake, but it's really no big deal. The reason is, another benefit of using EndNote is so that we don't have to put all of the information over and over and over again when we write the papers in Word document, because Word document, Word file, and EndNote can automatically be connected. But I'm also not using that function. I just literally use this EndNote to collect all of the articles. That's the only reason why I'm using it, to enter all the keywords. So it's easy for me to search for it. So that's why even if there are some mistakes here and there, I don't care. Instead, I'm just going to move on. And then I usually add labels though. That could be my personal notes. So for example, I found this article while using keywords like values and changes. And I found it interesting. Because I already know at least 2 different types of values, because I don't actually see here, maybe just make it larger. Because 2 different values or dimensions, that was the first one is openness to change or not, also self-transcendent or not, because 2 different values seem to affect actual behaviors of the alcohol consumption. That's interesting, seem to affect And then I do have alcohol consumption data set. I may be able to use it. So that's why I just add notes and then put the keywords here, say alcohol consumptions, values, and self-enhancement. So a self-enhancement there. Also, what was that? The openness. Openness. What else? Let me see. Let me check. So for this, I wanted to also check the methods part just to see like what kind of inventory scales they used. Oh, that's like hypothesis testing approach clearly. So that was the dimensions that I found. Okay, so there are multiple hypotheses. Hypothesis 1, 2, 3, 4, and then values. Oh, portrait values questionnaire. I used that one in one of my studies. Where did I miss that? Portrait values questionnaire. PBQ. Maybe that was PBQ 57. It doesn't say BBQ 57, but I'm just going to put PBQ just in case. And then an analytical strategy. What kind of testing did they use? Multi-level regressions. I just put all of these keywords here because then whenever I try to find the articles, when I write my own papers, this will be really helpful. So self-translate, oh, there are two in the country level individual. So that was another. So it was culture, country level, and the individual level. Okay, I think that's it. All right, and then openness, self-trans, female age, they include living with a partner, good mood. Okay, so mood, include mood, religiosity. Okay, so I entered some of the keywords. I don't have abstract or note or anything, but I can put the today's date, 2022, May 18th. And then as a name of database, it's not really name of database, but I usually put this number 925 for each article every time when I enter something. And then the language is English. Okay, and then save. By doing this, once I close this, then my EndNote now has 925. So every time when I entered, it will be go this way because for the EndNote, you can change what column or information you want to keep for the main page. So for me, I just put name of database for my first column. So even though these are not name of database, by entering all of the articles numbers here, I can kind of make it line up. This way, I do have in my own folders under the document, I put my reference and then I save all of the papers here in this box, like in this folder. So when I click the name, so now from this 925, it's the something that I found today. Earlier, I found also 924, 923, 922. These numbers match what I have for my EndNote here. So these numbers match what I have here. I started doing this kind of like manual way by collecting all of the articles in one folder. Let's see. Data modifier, excuse me. So when the last one? 2005. So 2005, and I just continue doing it like every year, just little by little. So now I have all the way down to 209. What's that number? 925. So I know my colleagues, for example, keep their articles. So whenever they do a literature review, they save those papers in the folders for each project, because each project may have its own folders, so they save it that way. But for me, I just use one folder, my reference, and I put all of them here. If I don't have time to make numbers, or if I just wanted to maybe later, then I have one more folder under my documents. It just says pending. So if somebody like emailed it to me or I wanted to read, like maybe later on, and I just leave it here. And then maybe someday, one day, I check it, and if I really like it, I enter the endnote and put it into my reference. But until then, I just save it this way. So I have a lot of articles here. Okay, but for me, the most important articles are all under my references. So it'll be just from 1 to 9 something. Because that way, whenever I use EndNote, and if I want to write something about, for example, confirmatory factor analysis, then I will see all of the papers that used confirmatory factor analysis. And then, for example, if it is say 945, and then just put the 945 for my own computer, then I would find my papers that I saved before, and then use that one when I write my paper so that I can study the typical ways or what kind of information needs to be reported. So that's kind of how like I link it to PDF, to EndNote, and then my folder, okay? So that's how I do it. So that's good. So now I found one literature, put it here, and then now I don't need EndNote anymore. My reference, I don't need this one anymore. And then now I have only Word document. So today's my goal was, so at the level 6, I wanted to choose all the articles that I need when I start writing the papers. But I haven't decided what I'm going to write. So I just use this one as kind of like my warm-up. So they can go because I'm now warmed up enough. So my next step would be to decide what topic I want to use to write a paper. So even for this, my next step would be to decide what topic I want to use. Is this okay? No. So anytime when I'm not exactly sure what to say in English, I just use Google and then I just put say like what topic I want to, so that I will learn how others would say. What do you most want to learn more about? How to pick a topic? Interesting. So let's see like a lot of different samples. What topic I want to teach? What topic I want to write about today? That's good. And then I just kind of what I want to write about. For my scholarly paper. No, this is good. This is okay. So this will be something that I need to decide tomorrow. But today, I don't have it. So this will be later. I think about later, for sure. Definitely later. And in the introduction, whatever the topic I would decide, I will want to start with the background. I need to provide some kind of background. And then I need to convince my readers, or I want to actually talk about why important to, so I need to address. I want to address why this particular topic is important to study. I want to talk about why it's important, like scholarly merit, meaning like kind of like this. It's like I got to do the literature review to make sure I understand what was already known, what is not known yet, so I can fill the gaps in the literature. I just make a note, know what I need to do. And then I also want to talk about like clinical merit, how we can use this. So by filling this gap, how I can use this one to apply, how we can use this to apply, how we can use the finding. I don't have any findings yet. Can I still use the here? How we can use, but it's wrong. I can't say how we can use a finding, right? So now, once again, I don't know the English. So I just got to go back. And then I have to say how we can use findings. Oh, no, there's no. So my English must be really wrong. How we can apply? Maybe how about this? How we can apply findings? Maybe better? Not so much. How we can apply these findings in a class. There could be maybe potentially how we can generalize, how we can still, I wanted to still apply though, how we can apply the findings. Still, no, it doesn't help. How we can apply the, what about if I change here? Does it help? No, it does not help. How we can research findings, how we apply, how about this? Okay, now a lot. Okay, how to present, how to apply. Okay, now a lot, how you would apply how to use the test results to guide. Oh, interesting. How we can use the results to guide something, then it's better. How we can use, or how we can apply the findings. I'm going to, so how we can apply the results maybe? How we can apply the study results I'm going to find. I'm going to find out. I still may be totally wrong, but I'm just leave it this way for now. Because if I can do, if I can present my background of the research, so I want to present some background of the research, and I want to address why it's important, and then I want to also explain. I want to explain my ideas, because that way, automatically, I should be able to write the paragraphs for the purposes and the hypothesis. And so this just kind of make a note. For the methods, I don't need any literature review for the section of participants, but measurement, I should definitely need a literature, like citations, because for each scale, I need to cite studies when I talk about each measurement or scale. That's for sure. In order to do that, I need to decide what I want to talk about. That's for sure. So my next step would be to decide what topic, but not just what topic, because to decide the topic, I need to identify the data. In order to do that, I need to go through my data set that I have not used for publication. There are a lot. I do have a lot of data that I have not published yet. So going through all of the data and then identify the measurement, scales, variables. Because once I decide them, that should automatically force me to decide which literature I'm going to cite. So that will be done. And then participants, measurement, procedures. We use some of the experiment. For example, if I end up using experiment, if I end up using my data, if I end up using the data we collected by running an experiment, then I need to cite studies that used the same experiment. That's for sure. For the results, I don't think I need to cite anything. So no citation is needed, so I can skip that. And then for the discussion and the conclusion, I just kind of try to think about what I have to do for each section, because that will help me to do something for today. So for the discussion, the first verse, of course, I want to summarize what I found. Then I want to explain how each hypothesis was supported or not and why. I also want to explain, what's that? I also want to do, I want to say if my findings were consistent. I want to do, so I just need a verb to address whether my hypothesis, whether my hypothesis were consistent, the findings were replicated. Yeah, I want to know if the findings were replicated. So I need a verb here. I start with I. Oh, there's nothing. Findings were replicated because it's the passive sentence. I want to find out that findings were replicated, that our findings were replicated. It's important to acknowledge that these findings were replicated. Okay, I like that. So, okay, it is important to acknowledge. Says it is important to acknowledge that these findings were replicated. In my case, I can't just use that because I don't know if it will be, replicated. So I want to say it is important to acknowledge, or it is important to double check if my soon to be found, because I don't have any findings yet, but once I find soon to be found findings, can I say this? Is it English? If my future findings, how about that? If my future findings, it is important to double check if my findings will be replicated with different samples. So that would be my future directions. So first I want to summarize it. I want to explain it. And then I want to talk about applications. And then I want to talk about limitations of the study. Then I want to talk about future directions. And then when I talk about future directions, it is important to double check, it is important to address if my findings, I don't have to say this, if my findings will be replicated with different samples so that I can say something about it for our readers. So I think that's all I need. So yeah, those kind of things, I can't decide anything. Methods and results, I don't have to do anything. So which means my next step would be to decide what topic I want to write about. But in order to decide a topic, I need to go through my data set next. And then that I haven't used for publication. So I can decide and identify which data, which variables, which set of variables I can use for my publication. Once I decided, then this will automatically use this one because this will be the easiest part. Once I know which data I am going to use for my next paper, even when I don't have the core results yet, I think this would be also very important. No science is needed, but I do need the super strong, like robust, like empirical finding, like some kind of like results. I do need the main results so that I can like walk around my papers for this result, for this particular result. So I do need the main results. So this should be also coming next. So this will be, okay, find the main results. So step number one for me, or like this was level 6 that I worked on to do the literature review and choose the articles, or at least develop a system to organize the literature. And I did that. And then I start up the Word document. I have not decided any papers yet, but I just made a note for myself so that I don't get lost. So what I need to do is decide which data set that are available, and then which variable I'm really interested. It may not work because if there are no main results, then there is nothing I can write about. But at least I need to decide the data set. At least I need to decide the variables. And then with these variables, I should be able to do more literature review any articles that use the same measurements or scales, then I can learn what's already known that goes back to this. So that will be helpful. And then while I'm doing that, I can also run data analysis to see, but in order to find the main results, I need some hypothesis. So that's why I need this one first, actually. So which means I'm going to number. So I'm going to find the data set. I'll do it tomorrow. And then this would probably almost at the same time. So I'll do that. And then while I do that, once decide the variables that are available for me, I should be able to find articles. By using articles, then I would be able to find the gaps in the literature that uses those particular scales, because when I do use the psychoinfo, some of the papers already have, for example, the excited by. So once I know the variables and then put it into the keywords, find the papers, and then not just those particular paper, but I can also look through the papers that cite those particular studies. So that should help me. So I do that. And then once I find out, I should be able to have a clear hypothesis in order to test it. Finally, I can find out if I can possibly find some kind of a main result. When I found this one, then I'm good to go. I think I should be perfectly ready to actually write the paper. So that would be my kind of like map. So now I identify what I want to do tomorrow. So this one, I'm just going to save in my desktop. I would say that's just my notes for literature review. So I save it, desktop, close it. Okay, so today I did level 6 of this book by sharing my screen, and then we're done today. I think I did enough, so I will see you when I cover the level 7. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.